Hi, Pre-Calculus. We are going to take a look at our next packet, which is Chapter 2.3. Okay, so we are going to take notes for page 1 today, and that's going to get us started for our new chapter. Okay, so please open up to page 1. This lesson is going to be on function notation. Okay, so we did have this appear in our game the other day, and some students were asking me what f of x stands for. Okay, so f of x, okay, this is like the y variable, y equals. Okay, except in pre-calculus, we're going to start calling things f of x. So f of x is a function, it's a function or a formula of x. When they say of x, that means containing variable x. Okay, and x is the input. X is the input. So f of x, the formula is negative 2x squared minus 4x. So the x right here, this is where you put the input. And this x right here, that is also where you would put the input. Okay? So we're going to do some calculations here. This first problem says f of 2. F of 2, so we're going to use this f function. There could be several functions, different variables. We're going to use this one and we're going to plug in a 2. Okay, so negative 2. And then the input has to get squared. Okay, so the input has to get squared minus 4 times input plus 3. So wherever you see an x variable, that's where you plug the number into. So that's why function notation is so nice. It tells you we're taking the f function, we're plugging in a 2. Okay, so f of 2 is 2 times 2 is 4, times negative 2 is negative 8, minus 8 plus 3. So f of 2 is equal to negative 13. So what I really need to make sure you do is you say f, the function that you used, of 2, what number did you plug in, okay, and then the answer. Don't just start doing calculations without labeling your work, okay? Are we doing f of 7? No, we're doing f of 2, okay? And you could have a page where there's several different equations, f of x, g of x, h of x, so it's very important that you say which one you plugged it into, okay? Let's take a look at f of negative 5, okay? So we're going to take the f formula, okay, and we're going to be plugging in a negative 5. So what does help sometimes, okay, is we write the function, and wherever you have input, put quantity, parentheses, squared. Input has to get squared, minus 4 times the input, plus a 3. Okay, and what I'll do now is indicate what the input is. So instead of x's, my input is negative 5. Okay, you can see right here with the quantity squared how important it is to have parentheses so those negatives, if your input is, okay, get taken care of. All right, so f of negative 5 is negative 2 times positive 25. Negative times negative is positive 20 plus 3. So f of negative 5, this is negative 50 plus 23, that's going to be negative 27. Okay, so you want to show nice calculations here using your order of operations. Okay, let's take a look at letter C here. We're also going to be using the f function, okay, but our input is a variable. Okay, this can be done as well. So I think the technique I'm going to use is put parentheses for input. So we have to do negative 2, input has to get squared, minus 4 times input, plus a 3. Okay, and the input this time is a negative x. So my variable that I'm plugging in is negative x, and now we're just going to go ahead and do our algebra. So don't forget to start with the right-hand side. Yeah, this is like the y value, right? You have to have both your variables. A negative x times a negative x becomes a positive x squared. We still have the negative 2 out in front. Okay? Sometimes people get so worried about the negatives they forget the x squared gets a power. X times x is x squared. A negative times a negative is a positive 4x plus 3. None of these are like terms, so we'll just go ahead and keep it like that, okay? So if you're inputting a variable, you're not going to get a number answer. Okay? If you're inputting a number, then you'll go ahead and get a final number. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at letter D. Letter D, the input is 3x. It's very similar to our x variable. So what I highly recommend doing is putting parentheses for input. Okay? Once again, this function said -2, your input has to get squared. So please make a space for input getting squared. -4 times your input. 4 times the input. Okay, then don't forget plus 3. Okay, doing this kind of parentheses work is going to make our next lesson super easy. So why don't you go ahead and try that? Our input this time is a 3x. And then again here, 3x. Anywhere you had x's, that's where you put the input. Your input could be a number or it could be an expression. Okay. F of 3x is equal to, so we're going to have -2, and then the quantity squared. 3x times 3x is 9x squared minus 12x plus 3. Let's go ahead and do our last calculation right here. F of 3x is -18x squared minus 12x plus 3. Okay, and that's going to be the final answer there. Okay, we have some interesting ones here at the end. Okay, so letter E, the difference is, okay, the input, okay, right here, like this, f of x minus 1. Okay, so the input this time is a quantity. The input is a quantity. Okay, that is possible. That can certainly happen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get set up with those parentheses things again. -2. Where's that function? Can I see it? Not really, huh? -2. And then we have input squared. Okay. The rest of the equation says -4 times input plus 3. Okay, so that's how that's going to go ahead and work. And now we're going to go ahead and put the input into the input places, okay? So the input here is the quantity x minus 1. And again here, x minus 1, okay? So now this did happen before, where we had parentheses with a squared like that, okay? And do you guys remember what I suggested that we do? Okay, we write it 2 times. We're going to say x minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, let's write the rest of this right here. Now, why do we recommend writing it 2 times like that? Okay, so that you see the foiling and we don't lose the outers and inners. Okay, so when you see something like this, write it out 2 times. Okay, so I'm going to hang on to this -2. I'm just going to work on the foiling. Okay, I noticed I also forgot my left-hand side here. I forgot the labeling. So if you ever forget that, just go back and add all your left sides in. Okay, so I'm going to save the -2 for later. I'll just distribute it in. Let's go ahead and work on this. Okay, so in terms of firsts, we have x squared, and then we have outers and inners, and that's going to make -2x. Negative times negative, +1. Okay, writing it out 2 times gets more people an A. Sometimes people accidentally just say x squared plus 1 or minus 1. Okay, I can go ahead and distribute here while I'm at it. -4x plus 4. Don't forget you're distributing the negative. And then we have the 3. Okay, we're getting closer. When you put in a quantity like this, it is going to take a little more work than just plugging in a value. Okay, so let's distribute. -2x squared. Negative times negative, this is going to make 4x. But wait, 4x minus 4x, that's going to cancel out. Okay, how about negative 2 plus 4 plus 3? That's 7 minus 2, so that's going to be plus a 5. Okay, we're all going to have the same answers in the end. It just might depend on how many lines of work that you have. Okay, this last one right here, I think I'm going to have to get out an orange color and put a little star by it. This one is a different kind of problem. Okay, let's look at this closely here. Find x. Find x. Okay, if f of x equals 45, okay, x is the input. Find the input. Okay, well, what's negative 45? F of x equals negative 45. So negative 45 is the output. Is the output. I'm going to go ahead and write that f of x problem down here because I can't see it anymore. So f of x is negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, and they do not want us to put negative 45 into the inputs. Our job is to find the inputs if f of x is negative 45. So the output is negative 45, and our job is to solve for x. Okay, how in the world are we going to solve for x here? Okay, what do you do when the power is 2? That means there's going to be two solutions. There's 2 different x's. So we have to move everything to one side and make a 0. I'm going to move everything to the left because I like factoring with positives. It just makes it a little easier. I get it right. Switch sides. That'll be a positive 4x. And then if I minus 3, that's going to be negative 48. Okay. Very important here that you say equals something. Everything got moved over, so we have a 0. Okay. Equations have to stay equations. You have to have that. All right, in terms of factoring, I'm noticing that these numbers are all even. Okay, so we can take out a 2. If you can take out a value, that'll just make your factoring life a lot easier. Okay, so now the factoring in the beginning is just x and x. X times x is x squared. I have to figure out how to make it negative 24 such that they add to a 2. Okay, so I think it's going to be, 12 and 2, no. 8 and 3, no. I think it's going to be 6 times 4. One of them is negative, and they add to a positive, so it's got to be plus 6 minus 4. Go ahead and double check that work. Okay, so there are 2 solutions. One of them is negative 6, and the other x is positive 4. Okay, is there any way to check these? Well, of course there is. Okay, you can go ahead and grab your calculator. I'm going to take 4. I'm going to plug it into f of x and see if I get that same output. Okay, so negative 2. And I'm going to input 4 for fun. Minus 4 times the x plus 3. And when I plug 4 into the f of x, the output is perfect, negative 45. Okay, you could also check your other input to see if it makes an output of 45. Okay, I hope this little lesson on functions made sense, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow.